Time now for Stanley's Stinkers, the only show that uses reverse prognostication to predict the losers in college football's biggest games. With this week's losers, here he is, Stanley Reese.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Well, last week there were upsets across the college football landscape that took quite a few people by surprise. That includes us. Stanley Stinkers finished the weekend 14-6, bringing our season success rate down to 77%. But that's not bad considering the fact that we never back away from the big games. We use reverse prognostication to predict the losers in college football's biggest games. With that said, here are the contests we're watching this weekend. Georgia Bulldogs at the Vanderbilt Commodores. The Sea Captains can just about say anchors away to their season if they can't reel in a few key wins in the coming weeks. A win against the hobbled Georgia squad would definitely hoist the yard arm. But Vanderbilt may be playing the Junkyard Dogs at the wrong time. After a loss last week effectively ended their run for the BCS title, Georgia has nothing to lose from here on out. Look for a pass-happy Aaron Murray to return to the Heisman race against a pass-unhappy Vandy defense. Stanley Stinker, Vanderbilt. Washington State Cougars at the Oregon Ducks. Mike Leach takes his Mountain Cats to Eugene this weekend for their annual duck hunt. This on the heels of a disappointing loss a week ago to Oregon State. Leach is one of the innovators in college football, and his mind might be racing to find a way to stop Heisman frontrunner Marcus Mariota and the Quackers. A win for Wazoo would be a signature for Leach and a fork in the title hopes of Oregon. Possible, but unlikely. Stanley Stinker, Washington State. USC Trojans at the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This is a game that used to be the highlight of the college football season, but this year it's just a sideshow with a couple of 4-2 teams trying to salvage their seasons. It could, however, be a chance for USC receiver Marcus Lee to return to stardom. Lee had 14 touchdowns a year ago, and through 6 games this year in an injury-hampered season, he has just one. Both teams have a lot to prove in front of touchdown Jesus, though. Stanley Stinker is USC. Well, we've got more coming up, including a barbecue in Tuscaloosa, a classic in Death Valley, and an upset in the Grove. Stay with us.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't seen your lap in months. And even more stuff. But still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
The LSU Tigers at the Ole Miss Rebels. Former presidential candidate Mitt Romney was in the Grove last week tailgating before the Ole Miss lost to Texas A&M. This week, though, it's Les Miles headed to Oxford, and with another near miss against a high-caliber team, the insurgents could have destiny on their side for this one, or there might be a runoff brewing. Ole Miss coach Hugh Freeze has amassed the talent, but he has yet to pull off that big win. This could be the weekend it happens. Oh, hotty-toddy, gosh almighty. In an upset, we're calling it Stanley Stinker, LSU. Arkansas Razorbacks at the Alabama Crimson Tide. First-year Arkansas head coach Brett Bielema may not have expected his first season at Fayetteville to be so harsh, but life with the Biggies ain't been easy. Arkansas drew sympathy from South Carolina's Steve Spurrier last weekend after a slaughter. Now they take on the number 1 team in the nation. Bielema does have the second-best run defense in the nation, but the Piggies, if they stop Alabama's rush, will still have to stop A.J. McCarron and his Heisman dash. Things don't look good for the newcomer this weekend in Tuscaloosa. Stanley Stinker and a barbecue, Arkansas. South Carolina Gamecocks at the Tennessee Volunteers. The head ball coach might have the roost back in order with a healthier Connor Shaw and Jadeveon Clowney, but this week they head to General Neyland's battlefield against a Tennessee team that has had 2 weeks off to prepare. The Riflemen have shown steady improvement since that first game, and they should be ready for the fearsome foul. Ready doesn't always mean a victory. Tennessee may still be one season away from contention, but this will still be a close game nonetheless for Butch Davis and his very young recruits. Stanley Stinker, Tennessee. The Florida Gators and the Missouri Tigers. The Swamp Lizards take a trip to the zoo this weekend, but it certainly won't be a stroll in the park like some may expect. The Striped Cats from Columbia, Missouri have arrived on the SEC scene after a blowout win last week over Georgia. Now they are the only undefeated record in the Eastern Division. But if you think Florida coach Will Muschamp is afraid, you probably think Old McDonald was a good speller. Without their top star, James Franklin, it'll be hard for the Tigers to match talent against Florida. Stanley Stinker, Missouri. Well, the big games are still to come, including the Bruins climbing the Red Tree, Johnny Football on the Gus Bus, and a classic contest in Death Valley. Those games and more coming up in 30 seconds.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
The UCLA Bruins at the Stanford Cardinal. With a loss a week ago to Utah, Stanford may have lost their chance at a title, and now all they can do is spoil the dreams of others. That will be the chore this weekend on the farm with the Bears. UCLA is still unbeaten, and their offense, led by Heisman hopeful Brett Hundley, is second in the league compared to a Cardinal defense that has been showing signs of fatigue. Former NFL coach Jim Mora will need to have his Bruins ready to climb the Stanford tree, but that's what Bears do. In a mild upset, Stanley Stinker, Stanford. Auburn Tigers at the Texas A&M Aggies. While the Aggie Nation held their breath last Saturday night as Johnny Football limped through a scary injury to lead his team to another come-from-behind win. Now the flamboyant signal caller will take on the Gus Bus. Last year, A&M embarrassed Auburn 63-21 on the Plains, so payback's an issue. This is the biggest test so far for the young kittens, and it could provide a boost that carries them through the end of the season, but it won't. Don't look for Auburn to get blown out again, but the Aggies should still be too much to handle. Stanley Stinker, Auburn. Florida State Seminoles at the Clemson Tigers. This is a game that features two of the top quarterbacks in the country and two of the top teams in the ACC. Clemson lead man Taj Boyd has 15 touchdown tosses with just 2 picks, while FSU's famous Jameis Winston has 17 scoring passes against just 2 interceptions. Something's got to give. If there's a weak point in either team, it does belong to Clemson. The Cats are middle of the pack when it comes to running the ball and defending against the run. With an extra week of preparation, that might be the point of attack for the River Chiefs. One more Heisman candidate falls Saturday along with his team, Stanley Stinker, in a Death Valley Classic, Clemson. Well, while we're at it, here are a few more games we have our eyes on. TCU will be roped by Oklahoma State. West Virginia will be raided by Texas Tech. Syracuse will be swarmed by Georgia Tech. Central Michigan will be mushed by Northern Illinois. Arizona State will lose to Washington. Iowa State will be bitten by Baylor. Illinois will fall to Wisconsin. UNLV will be buried by Fresno State. And in a game with lots of eyes on it, the Iowa Hawkeyes will not see a win against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Well, there you have it, the games for week number 8. Stanley Stinkers is a production of GMD Sports. It is intended for entertainment only. Any rebroadcast or other use without permission of me, Stanley Reese, is very much appreciated. Stanley Stinkers, the only show in America that uses reverse prognostication to predict losers in college football's biggest game.